Since the dawn of mankind, humans have grappled with the powerful force of fear. While it prevents us from making decisions that endanger our existence, it has a way of seeping into aspects of our lives unrelated to survival. Objective fears, like fear of heights or predators, protect us from tangible threats, while subjective fears are less rational. As we emerged from the wilderness and formed settlements, we became less comfortable with our former home. Wilderness became increasingly foreign, such that it was soon viewed with unease and eventually with fear. The wild became perceived as a lurking grounds for hostile creatures, anything from translucent spirits to grotesque goblins. The belief in such monsters has persisted even to this day, the era of space travel and genetic engineering. Despite all efforts by science to understand the mysteries of the wild, thousands of sightings of unknown creatures are reported every year with no explanation. What are these creatures? How did they originate? Do they pose danger? These are the questions Matt Kolbe, a renowned scientist and author, hopes to answer. Since we've come out of the wild, as a species, we've become more distant to nature. Wilderness was this unknown, this place that we didn't understand. So we started creating monsters, partially because humans are creative by nature. And then, say an awkward shadow or some other explainable occurrence became a sighting of one of these monsters. Frankly, it's amazing to me that there are still to this day sightings of mythical creatures. Personally, I think these so-called monsters are simply cases of misidentification, or perhaps even fabrication. Professor Colby will be interviewing 3 different people from across the globe who claim to have seen such monsters. Before we delve into the sightings, let's see how the concept of wilderness creatures has developed over the past millennium. The Christian view of the wild is a mixed bag. Some parts of the Bible refer to wilderness as a place of the cursed, like when the Israelites wandered the desert under Moses. But other parts attribute wilderness as a place of sanctity, a relief from an inherently corrupt society. After Jesus was baptized, he fasted in the solitude of the wilderness for 40 days, tempted by Satan. Both attitudes have influenced Western civilization's view of the wild, but the idea of wilderness as a forsaken land is more prominent. The first interview is with Brendan O'Reilly, an Irish real estate agent. He claims to have seen an ogre on his 80-acre property in Waterford.
It was a massive greenish man, mean looking. It growled at me and yelled, and started walking towards me. I ran away. When I came back with a rifle, he was gone.
What did its face look like?
Well, he had a big green nose and big pointy ears.
And how about its size?
About 2 meters tall. Beast of a man. He crushed me easily.
Okay. What would your advice be to someone if they ever were to run into it?
I'd say either run or shoot. It's your choice.
From Brendan O'Reilly's account, our experts have managed to piece together images of what the ogre may have looked like. Standing at approximately 7 feet and weighing at least 400 pounds, the Waterford ogre is a lethal killing machine. It is speculated that it feeds on rodents and other mammals, including foxes, sheep, house cats, dogs, and even human children. We've learned about wilderness. We know that the Bible gave an impression that the wild is evil, an inhospitable place of demons and monsters. There were detractors from this idea, though. St. Francis of Assisi believed all life is sacred, even that animals have souls. In 1336, Petrarch, an Italian scholar, climbed Mount Vento for no other reason than the view of nature. On top of the mountain, he read a passage in St. Augustine's book Confessions that said that to take pleasure in viewing scenery is sin, so he descended solemnly. There's an interesting contrast between the Western Judeo-Christian view and the Eastern view. Very different. Look at Kuo Shi's paintings. There's obviously an appreciation for natural scenery. Each of these figures has demonstrated that although wilderness was viewed primarily as a cursed, evil land, there were exceptions. Friedrich Werner is a farmer in Germany. He claims to have seen a man transform into a werewolf while hiking.
Den Weg zu Fuß.
I was walking on the trail and I saw a man. When I got closer, I saw that he was wearing no clothes. Then he started growing hair very fast. He grew and kept growing until he was as big as 3 men. Then he ran away and I didn't see him again.
So how long did it take to transform?
About 1 minute.
Did it seem dangerous?
Yes, it could have easily killed me.
Friedrich Werner's eyewitness account is proof that werewolves are still spotted to this day. In fact, in Germany, there have been dozens of werewolf sightings within the past century. Accounts vary in size, ranging from as small as 6 feet tall to as gigantic as 10 feet. We've reviewed all of the accounts and found that the average approximate height is around 7.5 feet tall, and its weight is at least 500 pounds. Most witnesses describe it as having large claws, as well as extremely sharp teeth. For food, it is speculated that it feeds on livestock like goats, pigs, cows, and even horses. In other words, the German werewolf, real or not, is a powerful killing fiend. We've heard the terrifying accounts of witnesses who have seen monsters in the wilderness. But what does the producer and writer of this show think of the wild? I would say my greatest fear of the wilderness is the fear of exposure to the elements. It's considerably more likely that I'll die from hypothermia than a bear attack, let alone some fictitious monster. You know what's more terrifying than seeing a troll? Getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, or slowly getting baked to death by the sun. There are more than 20,000 deaths each year due to heat waves alone. Around 1,000 people die every year from hypothermia in the U.S. 1 million people die every year from mosquito bites. Meanwhile, bears, wolves, alligators, scorpions, and sharks kill an average of less than 1 person every year. Imagine you're alone on a tropical island. You don't think about the monsters of the wild coming to get you. You think about the sun turning you into jerky. You think about the mosquitoes literally sucking the life out of you. To me, that's scarier than a werewolf. Sherry Davis is a small-town waitress in Mississippi. She claims to have seen a troll on her way to work.
I got out of the truck and there he was. He was about 4 foot tall and he was real hairy. We looked at each other for a good long minute or two before he scurried back into the bushes. He was a real sight.
Wow, that's quite an account you have. Could you explain to me more about his appearance?
Well, he was short and wide. He almost looked like a half pig, half man.
And you said he stood and ran upright?
Yes, sir. He looked grumpy, too, like he was about to pounce.
Did he seem dangerous?
Oh, yeah. I thought he was going to bite my fingers off. I suggest staying away if you ever see him. Looked like the devil himself.
Sherry is not the only one to describe such an encounter. In 1984, a farmer in Alabama claimed to have lost 20 chickens a month to a predator. When he went hunting for what he suspected was a pack of coyotes, he instead reported to have found a short human-like animal. Both incidents report the creature as being around 4 feet tall, mostly hairy and resembling a boar. They also describe it as having large, sharp teeth that could easily penetrate flesh. Wilderness, to some a place of refuge in a corrupt world, to others a lurking ground for evil creatures. We've learned about the history of monsters in the wild. We've heard eyewitness accounts of sightings. But are the myths and legends true? I think that's for you, the viewer, to decide. But I know I'm going to rest easy tonight with my own conclusion.
It's all good now.